Alright, welcome back to another League Race. This time we're back with FTRL GT1 at Autopolis wet now. Heading into this, it's going to be a wet race, but the last three tiles are random. So every simulation I've done of this race starts inters, then full wets, and then it goes to dries, or yeah, inters and then back to dry. So that's where we're at with this. Now I went on intermediates. I think, well, these conditions are definitely full wets, so yeah, I don't know, it's so weird. Like, you can see the difficulty is staying on track. I used the exact lobby settings for like multiple practice sessions and it never got this heavy this early. It does, the rain does come and it's absolutely pours down, but yeah, it shouldn't be this early. So, and then you'll see that in the race as well. Anyway, the best that we could do, because the track dried up a little bit, so the inters came in pretty quickly. The best that we could do was a 1 minute 50. So, yeah, because you can actually floor it through this last part of the track. Some people came in for dries at this point, but it ended up raining again. So it ended up being the wrong call. A couple of people did improve, but by the end of the session, like, no one's improving on intermediates. And I got treated to this lovely little drifting show from Pagani, which was lovely to watch. A master of his craft. So, yes, that was good fun. But nothing we could actually improve. The track is too wet for inters, so no one improved. So we're going to be starting P8 then, is where we're going to be starting. So, yeah, not too bad. I think I've out-qualified Aaron at least 3 or 4 times this season, which has been a surprise. Just for different reasons, for one reason or another, but it's not that I'm quick or anything, but anyway, I tell you who is quick is flipping Tom. Tom is ridiculously quick this week. I'm going to be honest, people put on traction control, and I don't know why I didn't do this, or why it didn't occur to me. I just thought everyone would be running no TC and just leave it off, but yes, that reaction is because this is a lot. Yeah, this is a lot wetter than I ever anticipated. This is full wet tire conditions. So this is going to be, because like, I've tried to go on this track in these conditions in inters, you just aquaplane, plain and simple. First phase of the start was actually okay. The second start is where I bogged down, just out of just being conservative. So anyways, there goes Aaron, there goes Will, we're behind Chubbs. Yeah, I can't get a little push there, but really I wish, yeah, not a great start, but it is just trying to take care. I really do wish that, you know, I'd stuck to my gut this whole time and just gone for the full wets, but it's impossible to really, hindsight's 2020, like every race start has always been inters, and then it goes to full wets. But I think, I mean, fair play to people to actually make it work on inters for this, because in the practice I had, I just aquaplaned off the whole time, but maybe that was partly because I was using no TC. Maybe some people were using TC, I don't know, but anyway, maybe that's what helped them keep it on track on inters. Anyway, we negotiate this lap 1. It's tricky, it's complicated, it's all sorts of treacherous, but I actually feel good about my pace in practice. Like, between the dry and the wet and the inters, I did feel good about things, so I'm optimistic that we can maybe make things work, but it's a lottery at this, like, it really is a lottery. Lap number 2, as we feather in, try not to break too deep into turn 1. Chubbs, Biggles and Panda are going to have a little coming together, so that's going to allow us up into P10, and just behind the lead then. So yeah, very much just feeling out the conditions here early on. This is my first GT7 race in the wet, so there's a lot of learning that's going on. Yeah, a lot of learning. Anyways, what's going to happen on this particular lap? We're going to get close to Lee, who takes a bit of a wider line. I'll try and hug the inside. And try not to light up the tyres too much, but it's very, very tight. Oh, that was close to contact. And going to try and send it down the inside, but I'm not far enough down, and Lee comes across and makes that corner his. So we're feeling things out early on. This early part of the race. Anyway, lap number 4. Lee goes a little bit wider off this time and gets onto the grass, and that will allow us through into P9. So yeah, that's another position gained, and we are trying to stretch a little bit away from Sean and Panda and the such, and we do for a little bit, because the gap is 5 seconds now to to Panda, because Sean paid for full wets. But we're right here with this group with Aaron, Callum here is new this week, Ross. We're right here this week. Oh, wow, there's a bit of contact there. Kind of upset the car a bit. Ideally, I should have come in. If the time was to come in for wets, it was around 2 laps ago, I reckon, because now the heavy rain is here. You can see green on the radar. This is the heavy rain. But we're keeping up with this crowd though, so like the pace is good, but I ended up getting spooked a lap later, lap 8. Again, we're on no TC. I didn't think otherwise, and yeah, car lets go. I just couldn't keep it on track at this stage. Like, I just thought, okay, the conditions are too bad for the intermediate tire. Like, it's just too wet. So the wheel goes through, then we lose a lot of ground, which is unfortunate. But I decided now to come into the pits for a set of full wets. The call to make here was, and you can see I'm struggling in sector 3. Like, it's far too wet, man. The thing to do was either to pitch 2 laps earlier onto wets, or to stick it out on the inters until the dry. I couldn't handle it. Like, it was just too wet, and I really did think I would make up some time on the wet compound, but this just ended up not being the case. But look, fair play to those who made it work on inters. Like, fair play. I just couldn't do it. But this was the wrong play to make at this time. If you were going to do it, either start the race on the wet or come in when Sean did, or a lap earlier. But yeah, we did make up quite a bit of time though. That's being said. Like, we look to this gang, we did make up a good bit of time. Lap 14. It's now, I think time. I think it's dry enough in some parts now for dry weather tires. What had been the case in my practice sessions from the crossovers from dry to wet is that the track dried out quite quickly. So I never really had a lot of issues staying on track once we left the pit lane, staying on the track on these tires. But my next fuck up was this point here, where I should have put on the medium tires to go to the end of the race, and then I realized halfway through here that I'd fucked up with the strategy, and the softs weren't going to make it to the end, because putting lap 20 on the softs, it's kind of touch and go to make it to the end, let alone lap 15. So this is my first error, but it was inconsequential at this point, because I think look, if we want to talk about safety margins, this was a lap. I think if you stuck to the lines and you didn't go on the curbs and anything like that, I think this was the right time to pit onto the dries. However, realistically speaking, this is best for inters. I got on the wet part a bit, and once I started braking on the wet part of the track, that's it. Car gives up. So now we're in a bad place. So it's been wrong choice after wrong choice. Look, this was a pretty damaging learning session, and because I drive off the line at times and kind of drift back in, just a lot of stuff didn't go well. Getting onto the wet curb here threw me off the track. So look, this was a very painful lesson to learn about. Ironically, like, the pace in the wet, what I thought was solid. It was this bit of the race that, well, aside from making the wrong call on wets and the such, but it was really this part of the race that things really blew up in my face. Was the actual running on the dry part of the track. It's just the wet to dry part. The wet part actually was okay. But yeah, sliding offline. When you slide offline, you slide off track. I reckon another 2 laps on inters was the way to go. But I was on full wets. This was too dry for full wets. So yeah, again, kind of, I made the wrong choice at that time. But Tom comes into the pits now to make his stop. So yeah, this race has gone downhill very, very quickly, and really, it was tough. It was tough to have to race the next 16 laps of this. Again, drifting offline.
Oh, I can't do it.
And yeah, it's just a horror show at this stage. It's just an absolute horror show. Plenty of people making mistakes and spinning his front, but we need to be the ones to not do that on this day. And I think, generally speaking, like, any practice session I did, it was absolutely fine. But nothing I did up to this point was anything like what the race actually was in the end, and how long it took to dry, and how violently the wet curbs send you, and even just braking even slightly off the line on wet just absolutely sends you to oblivion. Like, it was It was tough, man. It was a very, very costly learning curve. My first wet race, and yeah, first wet to dry kind of scenario. Yeah, it was tough, man. I took this hard. It was, it was a very difficult learning process. But anyway, we have to carry on. Eventually, there's a certain point in this race where I can just go offline, and
Stop.
it just, yeah. I mean, not that not that it matters at this stage, but yeah, it was difficult, man.
Oh my fucking god.
And there goes Tom to put a lap on us now as well. So yeah, very difficult. I think at this point now, I could have come into the pits I basically went to, max fuel saving, tire saving, not at this point, but not long after this, where again I just get off the line and
Stop. I can't fucking do it.
yeah, just super frustrated. This race is gone in a nightmarish direction, which is a shame because anything I did in practice was really encouraging with the same weather conditions, or the same rather weather presets. But yeah, nothing could have prepared me for this. But anyway, it's just super unfortunate I couldn't have caught this in practice. But yeah, I think this was the worst of the bunch, though. Just this, whatever the fuck this was. But the track is still so wet offline. So yeah, there's just absolutely no grip on these tires. So yeah, difficult one. A costly learning curve.
Please, I'm fucking begging you.
Yeah. Just about as rough as it gets. My hands down, has to be my worst league race ever, I would have to say. I don't think anything can compare to this. And I had to sit and stew in this for 14 more laps after this. 15 laps. So yeah, this was difficult. Eventually though, we got there. I knew Tom, I didn't know exactly where Tom was on track, but I knew he was coming up. And I was like, this is my time. I didn't box again because I wanted to just stay out at this stage, and we saved enough fuel. I just wanted the nightmare to be over. So I knew Tom was coming. I was like, right, let's be done with this. We're going to go 2 laps down. We're going to finish the race. And there you go. That's it. That's a very costly learning experience. It's a devastating one for the team's championship. We've dropped out of the top 4. We have some ground to make up with Sardinia B to come, a track I do not like, and Nordschleife Endurance to come as well. So it's going to be difficult, but yeah, just it's a devastating one for me. I have to say it was this was a rough one, and can only apologise to the team because it was it was tough. It was a very difficult one. But yep, that's going to do it for this week's edition of FTRL GT1. Next up is Sardinia B for sprints. So yeah, hopefully it will go well there. But yeah, thanks for watching, and until next time.